Good afternoon, everyone. It is 12 noon, and this is Wednesday, September 3rd. The assessment team would like to welcome you to our virtual office hours today. As always, we have many updates and resources that we're going to share with you. So we'll go ahead and get started. Just a housekeeping reminder here at the beginning that we like to ask our participants to go ahead and share their questions either via the chat during the presentation or save them for the end of the presentation. We will reserve time at the end for answering questions. Questions will also be recorded along with the answers and shared out as a resource following today's office hour. For those of you who may be newer to your SAU role, to Maine, or new to our assessment office hours, we like to start with brief introductions so that you can put a face to the name as we communicate with you throughout the school year. My name is Jody Bossio-Smith. I'm coordinator of the assessment team, and I'm going to hand it over to Krista Averill.
Hi everyone, I'm Krista Averill. I'm the coordinator for the Maine Through Year Assessment as well as the Maine Science Assessment, and I'll pass it over to Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle Gangelfinger. I am the English Language Proficiency Assessment Coordinator, as well as the Alternate Assessment Coordinator. And Dr. G.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Regina Lewis, also known affectionately to this team as Dr. G, and I am the NAEP and International Assessment Coordinator, and I would like to introduce you to Daniela, who is driving the slides, and she's one of our fantastic team members.
Yep, Daniela Crone is our administrative support on the assessment team. She's joining us from off camera today. We also have Leah Jarvis, our data business analyst, rounding out our team here at the department. And here on the right side of our slides, we have the agenda for today. We're going to start off with some general assessment updates and updates from the department. And then we're going to head straight into information about the Maine Through Year Assessment in mathematics and reading. So general updates. Here at the beginning, we just want to share with the group that the core of the assessment team's work really lies in the 5 areas you see here on the current slide. Our purpose remains to support Maine educators in the valid administration of required state assessments. We aim to provide high-quality resources, technical assistance, and professional learning that promote equitable outcomes for all Maine students. You've probably already seen a reminder through some communication channel from the MEDMS Help Desk that the use of Synergy state enrollment system is continuing through the fall 2025 data collection period, while Maine DOE is continuing to test and train for the new Connect system. Synergy became available to districts for uploading data the week of August 18. We know that this information has already been shared through multiple communication channels. We're also mentioning it a bit later here in our presentation as relates to assessment rostering, but we do want to make sure that that information is getting out to all corners of the field. Access to the full priority notice about the maintenance of Synergy through fall collection of data is linked here in today's slide deck. Here's a reminder about required security training for Maine Educational Assessments. Assessment security, as a reminder, is critical to the valid and reliable administration of state assessments and the quality of data. The requirements for district assessment coordinators and assessment administrators is differentiated, as you can see here on the screen. The necessary resources for both roles, coordinator and administrator, are also linked here in today's slide deck. So in addition to completing the requirements as the district assessment coordinator, if that is your role, please plan to share assessment administrator requirements with all of the necessary SAU and school personnel locally in your local communications and in your trainings. And then speaking of the Maine Through Year, we'll hand it over to Krista.
Thank you, Jody. So for the Maine Through Year Assessment, we again have 3 administrations this school year. We have a required fall administration from September 15th through October 24th. We have an optional winter administration and a required spring administration. Each administration window is 6 weeks to allow you ample time to accommodate your local schedules. There have been some changes for NWEA. We had the release of the new RIT score norms in July, as well as the implementation of the new enhanced item selection algorithm for all NWEA partners starting this fall. That's both map growth partners and state solutions partners nationally. We did highlight these changes in our August 20th office hours, so I encourage you to view the recording. There's about 14 minutes of information on those changes. We also have some additional norms and enhanced item selection algorithm resources for you as well. NWEA led a very informative, great webinar called Same Scale New Reference earlier in August. I encourage you to watch it. It was very well done, and the slides are available as well. And then there's also some additional resources like the Norms Toolkit and the Quick Reference Guide. One of the questions that we've been receiving very frequently is, when will the 2025 norms appear in reports? So the 2025 norms currently appear in map growth reports, and they've been retroactively applied to prior years as well. So this means when you're pulling a report in map growth, even if that report is from last school year, it's still going to have the 2025 norms. School and district administrators will have access to reference the 2020 norms on the map growth comprehensive data export files, but all other map growth reports will reference the new 2025 norming study. The new 2025 norms will begin appearing in reports in Acacia, however, this fall. So that does mean that you're going to see differences in RIT score achievement percentiles for students in map growth reports versus Acacia reports for spring 23, school year 23-24, and school year 24-25. I will just note here that there is no growth norms data in any Acacia reports. So the differences you will be seeing are specifically the RIT score achievement percentile and its associated percentile range. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Haley Westfall, who is here with us today from NWEA to talk about a few of those other summer 2025 updates.
Thank you, Krista. And actually, all that I'm sharing today, we did share at the August 20th office hour. So if you didn't have a chance to attend that, this is not any new information that was shared in this last week, but just another chance for you to see this information. All right, so we'll get started first with the 25-26 rostering options in map growth. I did want to point out before we start with the rostering options that this is for enabling the RIT score information from the Maine Through Year Assessment to be available for your map growth reports. So keep that in mind. The rostering that will take place in the Maine Through Year Assessment is completed by the Maine Department of Education. So this is at your discretion if you would like to roster students in the map growth platform. We have some options this back to school that are new. We have the HMH rostering service that we rolled out this back to school season. Those options with the HMH rostering service do include Clever and ClassLink connection, but we have also re-enabled the ability to utilize the NWEA versions of Clever and ClassLink. You also still have the availability to use our standard rostering process, which is a file-based upload. Whichever option you choose for this back to school season, it will not impact your Maine Through Year Assessment testing. Just keep in mind, this is how you will get those RIT scores from Maine Through Year Assessment into your map growth reports. If you're wondering about HMH rostering service and you haven't heard about it yet, here are just some brief highlights about this new service. It is our unified rostering platform that allows us to integrate map growth with our HMH digital products. What it allows you to do is just roster students and staff once instead of having to roster dually in both platforms. This service also supports rostering methods like Clever, ClassLink, One Roster API, and simple file format. And again, just some benefits: you are rostering once, you don't have to duplicate your efforts. It's an improved user interface with error handling. It's deeper integration with some of our HMH curriculum tools like Read 180 and Math 180. And then it also allows for flexible role switching and user management. If you have any questions about your rostering options, I have some links here for each of those choices. You can also send an email to digitalsolutions@nwea.org if you're interested in migrating to HMH rostering service or you're just interested in hearing more about it. We also have the Maine Designated Partner Support line here on the screen that you can call for any rostering related questions. In addition to those rostering changes, we also have a new login page this year. The great thing about the login page is really it's just kind of brighter, different images that you will see. The whole process will remain the same. So after you enter your email, you'll be prompted to enter your password, and then you'll be directed to our NWEA start page. On the password screen, you can still check our system status page, as well as view some resources for support. We also had a couple of user role permission changes that are going to take place in map growth only. The two changes that I highlight for our roles are only in the map growth platform. So if you are these roles in the Maine Through Year Assessment platform, those permissions are not changing. I just want to highlight that before we get into those. We updated some specific roles just to simplify and unify permissions across our platforms with NWEA and HMH systems, just going to allow some consistency, role appropriate access, and hopefully reduce any confusion when you are utilizing both of those platforms if you choose to do so. The first change that I'll highlight is related to the district proctor role within map growth. Adding and editing students to the system is now reserved for data administrators. So that used to be available to district proctors, but now you will need the data administrator role to do that functionality. District proctors will now be able to just manage test sessions for all students within a district. I have an image of our user role matrix, which you can find in our MAP Help Center. And just an important note, this changes to the map growth user role. It is not going to change the proctor role in the Maine Through Year Assessment platform. The district assessment coordinator is also having some updates. The user permissions are now reserved for reporting purposes. DACs will be able to view map growth and operational reports for all schools within the map growth system. Again, this is just a change to the district assessment coordinator role within the map growth platform, not within the Maine Through Year Assessment platform. Again, I have that image of our user role matrix, which you can find in our Map Help Center. I do want to highlight, if you are a district assessment coordinator and you need additional roles, you can layer the roles within the map growth system. So on the next screen here, I will show you some of the actions that were available for district assessment coordinators that will now need either the system administrator role or the data administrator role. So keep in mind, you can have both at the same time. You can have all three. We do allow you to layer. If you do make updates to your user permissions in map growth, those changes will sync to the Maine Through Year Assessment platform. So keep that in mind as you are updating those permissions. If you need the system administrator role, you can always call support and help identifying how you can add that role, but you can also have a system administrator role within your SAU site add that for you. And finally, the last thing that we have is just our system and technology requirements. Each year we update these to stay consistent with support help with other technology companies. So if you need to validate you are on our current OS and browser minimum, I do have a link to our workstation diagnostic tool. That's just a web-based tool that's going to check if your device is configured to our current OS and browser minimums. It's helpful to partners who need to prepare those devices for testing and proctoring. And then we also recommend that you turn off automatic updates during an assessment window, so that way you don't have any interruption to your testing. And the last two links on this slide are just references for our system requirements for map growth, as well as the Acacia platform, which is where you administer the Maine Through Year Assessment. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat, but that's all I have, Krista.
Thank you, Haley. All right, so just a quick reminder about the transition to Connect. As Jody had previously mentioned, we're going to continue utilizing Synergy for enrollment information for the fall administration of the Maine Through Year Assessment. At this time, we do have thousands and thousands of students who have been enrolled in Synergy and therefore are in the assessment rosters in NEO and have been uploaded to the Acacia platform. If you are not yet seeing your students in Acacia, it is likely that your students have not yet been enrolled by your district into Synergy. But we're very much in that process. Those files are being uploaded, and we're going to continue with the utilization of Synergy for this school year, fall administration. If you're a new district assessment coordinator, you will need an account in the MAP platform. MAP is NWEA's platform for the map growth assessment, but it's also the access point for Acacia. Acacia is NWEA's platform for the Maine Through Year Assessment. So to access both MAP and Acacia, a MAP system administrator for your SAU needs to create an assessment coordinator account in MAP for the new district assessment coordinator. As Haley mentioned, that district assessment coordinator can be assigned other user roles if needed. For example, if they're going to be adding, editing, or removing other staff users in MAP. Those user roles for accounts created in MAP sync to Acacia nightly, and there is a link to the user and student management guide for more information on that process. Next is training specific to the Maine Through Year Assessment. So once each academic year, the following trainings need to be completed. For district and school assessment coordinators, that includes a review of the assessment coordinator guide, as well as completion of the assessment coordinator training module. The module has been updated for 2025-26. So you will need to enroll in the updated module by first accessing the auto enrollment instructions, which are available through the link in these slides, as well as through the connections page. And then from there, you'll be able to access the module. If you have any difficulties accessing the module, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. Proctors are also required to watch the Maine Through Year Assessment Proctor training video. This year, there's been some updated screenshots, but otherwise all the information remains the same. It remains at about 9 minutes. If you had teachers who already watched the older version of the Proctor training video, perhaps last week, before the new version with screenshots was updated, that is absolutely fine. You do not need to have them rewatch the video with the updated screenshots. The information remains the same. So for the fall administration, the first task, if you have not done so already, is to make sure that you have uninstalled the older version of the NWEA State Solution Secure Browser and have downloaded the latest version. So there's a link there to the System and Technology Guide. The submission of paper-based form requests is currently open, and it's open through October 10th. Those are requests for accommodated forms for students whose IEP or 504 plan specifies the need for a paper-based form, whether that's standard print, large print, and Braille. I will note that I cannot approve a form to be delivered to the school for a student until that student appears in the assessment platform. So if you're submitting a request, just please be aware that until that student appears in Acacia, that request will be on hold. As mentioned previously, the assessment roster daily change files have already begun. They began on August 29th, and they are rolling every day. And Acacia opened yesterday for pre-administration activities. So things like assigning supports and accommodations and printing test tickets for students who are already rostered in the platform. The fall administration window opens on September 15th. Just a reminder, please provide all proctors with the administration directions and scripts, and then only your proctors who are going to be accessing the proctor dashboard in Acacia will need access to the Manage Online Testing Guide. Your student results reports will become available in Acacia within 72 hours of assessing. And if you'd like to have access to Maine Through Year Assessment RIT score information integrated into MAP growth reports, you will need to roster your students also in the MAP growth platform. And we have some resources here regarding that rostering and those available reports. The last Friday before the last week of the administration window is your last opportunity to request assessment resets for fall 2025. For more information on the criteria for an allowable assessment reset, please see the reset process flow. The last day an assessment roster daily change file will be generated is October 23rd. So if you have any changes to student enrollments, including student demographic information in Synergy after that time, that will not appear in Acacia. So if you have any changes to demographic information that need to be made after October 23rd, please reach out to me directly. October 31st is 1 week after the last day of the administration window, and that is the last day of the SAU data cleanup window. There's a link here to the cleanup checklist. Please ensure that whomever in your district is responsible for that sort of technological student data monitoring and cleanup receives a link to the checklist, as that goes primarily out to our district assessment coordinators and those who are enrolled in the MEA email updates listserv. Your last day to run operational reports for the fall administration will be November 14th. Those are things like the summary test status reports or the material order reports. And then on December 3rd, the fall 2025 student score data file becomes available. As a reminder, score information is considered preliminary until that SSDF becomes available. To prepare students, we have a student tutorial video that's available both on YouTube and Vimeo. And we also have item type samplers. We have an online item type sampler, as well as one that can be accessed from within the State Solutions secure browser. And we do have paper-based item type samplers for students who will be taking a paper-based accommodated form. The answer keys and the paper-based item type sampler resources are available on our webpage under the item type samplers drop-down menu. We also have some professional learning opportunities coming up. So the first one is Maine Through Year Assessment, a balanced approach. It's going to focus on the assessment as part of an overall balanced assessment system. And we're going to break down the summative versus the interim components. There will also be some information on the new RIT score norms and the enhanced item selection algorithm as they apply to the Maine Through Year Assessment. And there will be a separate session for fall interim reports. So in that session, we'll be looking at the RIT report, dynamic student report, and report export in Acacia, as well as some of the map growth reports specifically for the fall interim portion of the assessment. If you are having any difficulties with the Acacia platform, the State Solutions secure browser, or the map growth platform, please let NWEA Maine Partners Support know. And I'm here for questions related to content, accessibility, scoring, reporting, and policy. Moving on to the Maine Science Assessment. The spring 2026 administration dates are April 1st through 17th for high school, and grades 5 and 8 will be May 11th through 22nd. There will remain 3 sessions per grade level, each 50 minutes in length for high school and 60 minutes in length for grades 5 and 8. New district assessment coordinators will need access to the KITE reporting platform. A new DAC file was provided to the vendor on July 24th based on contact information entered in NEO. If you became a DAC after July 24th or your information was entered after July 24th, please reach out to me directly by email and I will have your KITE account created. You will not need access to ADAM or the Assessment Delivery and Management System until February for the spring administration of the assessment. If your information has been updated in NEO before that time, then you will automatically have an account created in ADAM. Reports for the Maine Science Assessment became available on August 25th in the KITE reporting platform. You have 3 main different types of reports. You have SAU and school reports, which are your big picture overview of SAU and school performance. There are ISRs, or individual student reports, which are intended for distribution to parents and guardians. And then there's the student score data file CSV under data extracts, which includes more detailed granular information regarding student performance, including subscores. We have linked here some scoring and reporting resources. At our last office hours on August 20th, a brief overview of reports was provided, and I encourage you to view that in the recording. One of the frequently asked questions we've been receiving is, when should I distribute the individual student reports? SAUs are encouraged to use their local communication tools and platforms with which families are most familiar for the delivery of ISRs. And that distribution can be paper-based or virtual. It is recommended to distribute ISRs to families within 2 weeks of the last ISR becoming available, which was scheduled for August 26th, but was a day early on August 25th. And we do have one professional learning opportunity session coming up for the Maine Science Assessment that will be held twice, once on September 8th and once on September 17th. And it's about making connections between the 3 dimensions of the next generation science standards and the Maine Science Assessment design, scores, and reports. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. G.
So we're on to the national and international assessments, and the international assessments are quiet this year. We'll begin with a good old NAEP. Right. And as a reminder, these are the operational and pilot assessments that are active this year. And so I'm just going to keep this as a placeholder from now throughout administration, and just for your reference. And a little bit about the context surrounding NAEP. Just a reminder that the frameworks are new. We'll be providing for math and reading. We will be providing an greater detail later on in the fall. School and SAU notifications were sent the week of August 11th, and the assessment dates are not due out till October. And the thing complicating that this year is the transition to school devices. So we're asking users of Chromebooks and any Windows devices out there to use the school devices if they meet the requirements for the administration of NAEP. And there's a wonderful survey that needs to be completed to make that determination. This survey needs to be completed even if you have some sort of Apple device for your students, and that's will help the US Ed to get a feel for how many Apple devices are out there and help them with the transition moving forward towards administering NAEP, hopefully in 2028 on those devices as well. Here's a reminder of our NAEP timeline and the assessment activities that happen from now through administration, and the associated tech timeline that happens in the background. Just a reminder that most people, unless the tech people have been involved with NAEP a little bit in the past, most of them are not familiar and they will need a little bit of briefing. So it may take a little bit of extra communication on your part and mine as well. Important thing as we make this transition, here's a list of the technical requirements for the devices. Reminders that it's primarily Chromebooks in our state, and knowing that the device composition is almost 50-50, we will have a fairly good size of sample of the number of students participating on Chromebooks, hopefully, if the Chromebooks meet the specifications. So our priorities for September: NAEP's 2026 School Technology Survey is open. It is embedded within the AMS platform. That is the assessment management system for NAEP. There is a resource to help you or your district tech director or the school person that is assigned to help assist with assessments as far as technology. It does contain the questions, so there are also resources for registration within the AMS so they can complete this. The deadline is coming up. It's just a couple weeks away. If the technology survey is not completed and submitted on or before September 19th, the default is to assign school device. And I know that may not work for many of our schools. So please reach out if you need help. Find someone, assign someone in the district or school that is familiar with the devices and the assessments. And I know they're out there because they've been doing a great job with our state assessment. So they should be the people that will complete this tech survey, and we can get that information. Receive a response of which mode of administration will take place in your school immediately upon submission, which is, I'm impressed with that. That will help you folks as well as ours, because what's happening is that information goes back and we schedule the appropriately trained teams. If your school devices do not meet the technology requirements, the NAEP teams will bring devices with them and administer the assessment on NAEP devices using NAEP Internet. So as of this morning, when I logged in, only 30 of those tech surveys had been completed. I know that a couple have magically appeared in the AMS since then. They keep trickling in. I'm just hoping to be able to assist you folks in getting those done. So there will be a couple of NAEP technical assistance office hours coming up, and then one this week and one the following week. And we'll get that information out to you folks. Any of the districts or SAUs and schools that have been selected for NAEP will get an email from me with that information. Here's again the specific resources that you need or may need to help you get you or your staff get registered within the assessment management system and to complete the tech survey. Here's some other resources that might assist with that, including the which is called the NAEP Download Center, and that's where the app that will be installed on the student devices for the assessment can be accessed. It can be downloaded early in the fall. It is ready to go. It can be pushed out to all devices, or it can be pushed out to just the assigned students. There's no security concern with pushing it to all devices if that's the way your SAU or school chooses to do it, because the login information is necessary to be able to access the assessment, and that will only be provided to the students on the day of administration. And if you need assistance, there's how to reach me and our NAEP help desk. I know several of you have already done that, and they reach out and they've been very happy with the requests that they're receiving. So far, we have no unsolved mysteries, which is good news for me. And thank you, and I'm turning this over to Michelle.
Thank you, Dr. G. So first, I will share some information about the WIDA Access and the WIDA Alternate Access, which are the state general and alternate English language proficiency summative assessments. So please keep in mind the assessment window for the 25-26 school year will be January 6th through February 27th. So the information provided on this slide was shared at the June 25 office hours, but I wanted to share it with you again since there have been many changes to WIDA Access for the 25-26 school year. The Access itself underwent a complete redesign, so it's now completely aligned to the 2020 English Language Development Standards Framework, which is the most recent standards framework. The look, the feel, and the types of tasks and the administration procedures have remained the same on the general access. However, standard setting will take place next summer, and new cut scores will be established following the summer 2026 standards setting. Some of the other updates to access this year include an introduction of a streaming option versus the use of CDs for paper-based forms. And just as a reminder, the paper-based forms are used for students with IEP accommodations. And CD players are becoming harder and harder to come by, so they are moving to this streaming option. Something new for us this year in Maine is that we're going to be offering a grade 4 writing response booklet option on the WIDA Access online for selected students in grade 4. So this option is available as a designated support for selected students per the discretion of the ML director or coordinator of ML programs and the instructional team. Attendance at a mandatory training on this topic will be provided for all SAUs who will be utilizing this option. And the webinar is going to be held on December 3rd. So it's currently in the process of being added to the Maine DOE events calendar. So you will be able to register for the webinar soon, right through the Maine DOE events calendar. Also want to point out that there have been significant technology updates to DRC on the platform for this year. It includes the retirement of the Chrome version 15. So keep in mind these updates do apply to the WIDA Screener, which is the tool used to identify students for multilingual learner status. WIDA did release a full technology updates webinar, and it is available on the WIDA AMS secure portal. If you want to review, if you do want to view it or reshare it with your technology coordinators and you need access to the WIDA secure portal, just please reach out to me. And we'll stay right on this slide for a little bit. This is the new in 2025 for the kindergarten access slide. So over the past few years, WIDA has been redesigning kindergarten access for ELL so that it incorporates the WIDA English Language Development Standards Framework. So beginning this year, the redesigned assessment will be used. So lots of the changes, those changes are listed out here. There's fewer test materials to manage. All 4 of the domains connect to a single storyline. Each language domain is administered with once. There's no starting or skipping rules. New task types reflect everyday classroom practices. There's a separate score sheet to mark student scores for listening and speaking, reading, writing and reading. And there's revised scoring protocols and rubrics. So with the new redesign, that means that all test administrators must complete the redesigned WIDA Access for kindergarten administration and scoring training course in the WIDA Secure portal, and they must pass the certification quiz. Unfortunately, the training course is not available yet. It will be available on September 29th. WIDA had to do some behind the scenes things and getting ready for that training to be available, and it will be available on the end of this month. And now we can go to the next slide. So there's a couple of special forms that are important to keep in mind. The first one that I want to address is the paper materials request form. The Maine Department of Education facilitates the initial order of materials for SAUs based on enrollment data. So please ensure that your enrollment data for your MLs has the ML start date and multilingual learner status. Make sure that's all correct in Synergy. For students who require the paper-based materials, then please make sure that a completed paper materials request is submitted to me prior to October 24th. The form can be found on the English Language Proficiency Assessment Department of Education webpage. That form is not new. That form has been on that webpage for a while. The second form that I want to discuss with you is new this year. It's the request for less than 4 domains form. We refer to it as the LT4D form. For students who qualify for participation in reporting of less than 4 domains due to a documented exceptionality, a less than 4 domains request form must be submitted by the SAU. The form will need to be submitted to me between November 20th and February 20th. Within the next couple of weeks, that all of those resources are going to be updated and posted to the Maine English Language Proficiency webpage, so you'll be able to access and download the form right there. So once I receive that form, it's going to be reviewed, and if there are no questions, as the state coordinator, I will apply the appropriate code in the WIDA AMS for the students. And this year we'll submit, Department of Education will submit a state file to DRC with a list of students that have been approved for the less than 4 domains. And DRC will provide an overall composite score and a student report for these students. That's a new offering this year, and very excited to be able to offer that. So here, just want to point out, WIDA provides lots of training resources to help educators prepare for the WIDA Access. For those educators who will be administering the Access this year, there are both required and recommended annual trainings to be completed. So this here is just a quick reference guide for the trainings that are required as well as those that are recommended. I will point out again that the kindergarten access for the Access needs to be completed this year, and that will be available on the 29th of September. You'll also notice that for the alternate access training, if that training was completed by test administrators prior to September 1st of 2024, they need to recertify. If that training was done during the school year last year, then test administrators are all set for that. But if it was completed prior to last year, then they are going to need to complete that again, and that's because that was a redesign as well. Maine DOE is providing 2 facilitated webinar series through WIDA. Again, this year, we talked about this a little bit at the office hours last year. So we have those 2 webinar series that will be offered. The first one of the series will provide ideas for expanding reading instruction to make it more effective for our multilingual learners. Participants are going to learn ways to build on and expand current approaches to teaching reading and to engage multilingual learners in the interactions that support reading development. The November set of workshops, participants will examine ideas that guide, support, and strengthen instructional planning practices for students who are duly identified. So you can use the QR codes here on the slides or go to the Maine DOE events calendar to learn more and to register for these facilitated webinars. On the next slide, you will see some of the upcoming professional learning opportunities that are going to be provided through the Maine Department of Education this year. And also you can see a full description and register for these webinars on the Maine DOE events calendar. The next slide, you'll see who you can contact for help or support. This slide has not changed, does not change from office hours to office hours, except there is one important change this year. The WIDA Client Services Center has updated their email. So their email is now help@wida.wis.edu. So please start using that email now if you need to reach out to WIDA Client Services. But for now, an email sent to help@wida.us will still be redirected to the updated email. But you can go ahead and start using that updated email now. If you have questions regarding the DRC platform, you can reach out to the DRC. And if you have questions for anything related to accessibility policy, or just anything that you can't get an answer for, I am here to help you, and my email's right there. We will move on to MSAA now. So first I want to update, just keep in mind the assessment window is March 9th through April 24th of 2026. I just want to remind people, I talked about this at our last office hours, but just as a reminder, the reports for MSAA are available for download through September 12th. So that end of the reporting window is coming up pretty quickly. It's vital that all reports be downloaded prior to that deadline. Once the reporting window closes on this date, SAUs, special purpose private schools, will no longer be able to download reports. The window's cleared and those reports cannot be downloaded. So if you do need any assistance in getting those reports downloaded, please reach out to me. If you have students, if you are a special purpose private school, you need to download those reports. If you are an SAU and you need those reports from the special purpose private schools, please make sure you reach out to them. The reports are downloaded either through the SAU or the special purpose private schools. SAUs, as you know, don't have access to the special purpose private school information. So please work together to make sure that those reports get to where they need to go. On the next slide, I want to just draw your attention to some important dates for the upcoming year. We'll be discussing these in further detail at future office hours, but just keep in mind, I do want to point out, I do have next week, there's going to be a special alternate assessment office hours that is available to register on the events calendar, but that's going to be an office hours strictly devoted just to the alternate assessment. And then we have some other important dates here. There will be a test coordinator survey that I will send out on January 5th. You have the month of January to complete that. That is how we here at DOE know who to upload to the platform. So all of your test coordinators will gain access to the platform, and then in return, they can add all of the test administrators to the platform. And I did, just so you know, for next year, mark your calendars, because I know the assessment window in the summertime is kind of awkward, but there's the dates for the online reporting window for the 2026 administration. And here I have a list, just to keep in mind some of the different training opportunities that will be coming up through this school year for the alternate assessment. And here you can reach out to the MSA service desk if you have any questions. I will point out that I just found out that all the MSAA service desk for this year will be having an option for the chat, which will do some automated responses. You can still definitely be able to get to a live person to talk to them, but some of the more basic questions, that chat will provide some automated responses for that. Then if you have any other questions that you can get answered through them, certainly reach out to me, policy-related questions. If you have any help, just questions in general, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I am here for support.